allergies.
Hey, Jim is talking bats outside.
All right, thanks a lot, Angela. Yeah, it's a Halloween icon and one of nature's most misunderstood creatures, the bat. But bats are good for the ecosystem, fun to watch as well. And joining us right now from Birds Unlimited is John Schaust. And John, interesting, you know, we're kind of tying in bats, obviously, to October, but it was interesting talking to you earlier that they are somewhat of an endangered species right now.
Well, they're in trouble, and
important to have.
Yeah,
really.
They are in trouble, and they need all the friends they can get. And you know, Halloween's kind of a neat thing to have bats,
sure,
and kind of that scary thing. But you know, really, they do us a lot of good. They eat tremendous amounts of insects like mosquitoes at night, a lot of insect pests. Some estimates are that they do $4 billion worth of pest control for us every year.
Right.
Because of all the insects they eat. They're in trouble. Their numbers are dropping. Matter of fact, since 2006, the scientists estimate that almost 6 million bats have died due to a new disease.
They're still trying to figure out.
They're still trying to figure it out. It's called white nose syndrome. It's a fungus that grows on their body during the wintertime when they're hibernating. The fungus doesn't actually kill them, but what happens is it irritates the bats enough that they wake up out of hibernation, and if they do that too many times, they burn through their fat reserves and they die. They starve to death, and that's what's happening. It was first identified in 2006 in New York. It's in 21 states now.
Wow. Well, I think when you think about bats, you think about you know, the scariness of Halloween and kind of how we're tying that in. But I mean, they are a good thing to have around. And you've got a birdhouse, or not a birdhouse, but a bat house. You know, I don't think a lot of people know that there are bat houses that are out there that you can actually mount up to your house or have them freestanding somewhere in your backyard to attract the bats to your neighborhood.
Absolutely. They're actually a great thing to have around. Again, all the insects that they eat, the mosquitoes they eat. So one of the ways you can do that, and one of the ways you can help the bats, we've partnered with a group called Organization for Bat Conservation out of Michigan in designing bat boxes that people can get and put up on their houses. They're very simple design. The bats actually come in underneath. They land on this platform, and they come in underneath.
Okay, so if this was mounted up, basically...
This would typically be mounted.
And how high does this usually have to be in the house?
Somewhere between 12 and 23 feet.
Okay, so you can have this literally mounted to the side of your house. I mean, is there anything they have to worry about with the kids or anything like that? With something?
Not really.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, like I said, they're not...
You don't want to mess if a bat's on the ground and not acting normal, then stay away from that because there's, you know, could be diseased or whatever, but that's rare.
So the mesh right here kind of helps to give them grip, right?
It's a landing platform.
Okay, and then what's the slit here compared to coming up underneath here?
Well, you want this in hot conditions, so you want 8 to 10, 12 hours of sunlight on this every day, so you want to put on a south exposure because the bats actually use this as a maternal colony and they want it warm.
So they want it warm.
But if it gets too warm, they've got to be able to thermoregulate. So what they can do by this creates a ventilation chamber. So if it gets too, they can come down here and cool off. So that's why this opening is here to provide ventilation.
You got a book about this? You can find that at Birds Unlimited. How much does one of these usually run through?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
But we have different models and different sizes.
And then real quick on this before I get to the weather, I think this creates all my allergies in the fall. I don't know if this is ragweed, but it sure feels like it.
This is goldenrod. It's not ragweed, so this is safe. You can enjoy the color and not worry about your hay fever.
And this is where you'll find bugs that are attracted to this.
There's plants you can have in your garden like phlox and evening primrose that actually attract the moths that these guys eat and the other night-flying insects that these guys eat at night. So goldenrod provides habitat for some of the moths to live in.
And the circle of life continues. We need this for the bugs need the bats, and bats need the bugs and all that stuff. Hey, on this, with the book, how can you watch them real quick before we wrap up? How can you watch bats at night?
Well, if you know where they're at.
Okay.
They do come out typically when there's still a good, probably 45 minutes of light.
Okay, so kind of at dusk.
It is so cool to watch. You can watch them flying back and forth along lakes and rivers and things and dodging for insects. It's a fun thing to do.
Awesome. Great idea. Hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate you coming out here today and educating us a little bit about bats. And maybe you might be interested in getting a bat house in your area or, of course, on your house. All right, let's talk about a little bit of forecast.